Hey y'all, welcome back to my kitchen table. Today we are making some dog approved gluten-free ginger snaps that are going to be nice and chewy without being too dense. Ginger snaps are seriously my favorite thing. So to get started, we're going to start with our gluten-free flour. I know I say this every time, you can scoop this or spoon it into the cup. I always just scoop it out of the bag because I just don't ever think about it too long. Next, we are going to add our baking powder, and we're going to add 2 teaspoons of this, I believe, but the recipe link is in the description. I would just go look there because I can never remember once I'm actually doing the voiceover. Next, we're going to add our spices of cinnamon, a whole tablespoon of this. These are ginger snaps, so they are heavily spiced cookies. And then we are going to add some ground cloves, not as much of this. Cloves are very, very strong. I'm probably half measuring a half teaspoon here. Use an actual half teaspoon. Then we are going to have some ginger, so you can use ground ginger. I used fresh. It's going to be about 2 tablespoons. But first we are going to mix up all of our dry ingredients and then move on to our wet ingredients. So here's some butter. I did not soften my butter like I should have, so I am cutting it into very small cubes. And I mean small, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to finish cutting the butter into cubes, and then we're going to cream it with the sugar. This is a very important step. I don't think people give enough time and attention to the emulsification of the fat and the sugar. You want this to be really light and airy, which is going to be easier said than done when you use cold butter like me. I just put my hands in there and I physically break up the butter with the warmth from my hands. And then I will keep creaming the butter and the sugar together. This is the stage we're at right now, which is where most people stop. Do not stop there. You want to get to this stage where things are really, really super crumbly. Now we're going to add an egg. Please always break your egg into a separate bowl just in case you get a bad egg. This is the level of creaminess and aeration we want to get to before we add our molasses, which is going to be a whole 1/4 cup of molasses. This is one of the things that gives the ginger snaps a really good flavor. And now we're going to add our ginger. We're going to make sure that's really well incorporated in there. These are really bold flavors that you don't want to get a big bite of. So now we're going to add all of our dry ingredients and whip those in there. We're also going to remember we forgot to put our vanilla in our wet ingredients. And now we're going to add a splash of vanilla. It's probably about a teaspoon. It's fine, guys. And this is what your dough should look like. So this is going to be a really dense dough that's going to feel a tiny bit sticky. However, if you put enough pressure on the dough, like I'm going to show you now, it should roll up into a nice ball, which is good because we are going to be actually rolling these in sugar. So I use an ice cream scoop to make sure that they're all the same size. I scoop them out into my hand, and then I'm going to roll them into a ball. Now you want to do this fairly gently. The warmth of your hands is going to melt that butter, which you don't want. So I'm going to roll these really gently and then toss them in the sugar before I put them on the pan. 2 options once you actually get them on the pan. Option 1 is you can flatten them a little bit if you don't want as much of a dome shape, if you want more of like that traditional cookie shape. I just leave them because I like the dome shape personally, but once these are cooked, you're going to be able to use these for a lot of things, not just fresh eating. I really like to dry them out in an oven and use them as a crumble on top of different desserts or even ice cream. And we're going to bake these at 350 for anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes, depending on your oven. This is the type of cookie where they're not going to seem quite done, but they're going to set up when they cool. So make sure you let these guys cool enough. Again, completely dog approved over here, always. And look at that. We have a nice thick cookie that's not going to be overly dense and it's not going to be overly dry. Thanks so much for watching today. If you want more gluten-free content, go ahead and subscribe and hit a like if you want to try this recipe.